Welcome back to Feminine Fortune. And today I'm going to dive into a very, very common question I receive, which is, what is the difference between masculine and feminine selling? Okay, so what you're going to learn in this episode is what you can immediately do to start to shift how you're selling so it feels feminine, which means what that means is allowing you to be more in the receiving than in the desperately striving and doing. Okay, so we're going to talk about what feminine selling is, why it helps you sell more with less. What does that mean? It means less ad spend, less effort, less time, less marketing, etc. Okay, so where I want to start is first, I want to talk to you about what I mean when I say the masculine way of selling. Here's what I mean. I'm talking about pursuing, doing focused. It feels, for a woman to do it, it can feel forced. It feels like convincing. It can feel inauthentic for many women. It feels like persuading. It can feel manipulative. It often is like image and ego driven. It can feel like my way or the highway. It can feel like bulldozing. It's powerful, but in a win-lose kind of way. Okay. Big theme for masculine selling for women is it's a lot of doing. It's a lot of structure. And what it feels like for women specifically is it can involve trying to fit into a box or into an old model, which for a lot of women feels very inauthentic, which ends up being extremely exhausting for them. Okay. So as I share in another episode, my dad was in sales. Okay. So when I was growing up, there are certain things I made up about what sales and business and success were. What I made up is that in order for you to be successful and in order for you to be in business, you're wearing like a stuffy suit and you have a briefcase and you get home really late and you have to leave really early and you have to be manipulative and deceptive. And I'm not saying my dad was any of those things. It was like what I made up about it. Okay. So I made up I don't want to do any of that. If that's what success in selling is, I don't want to do any of that. It didn't occur to me that it could be done a different way. It wasn't until I met a woman who did it a different way and was extraordinarily successful, was beautifully feminine and joyful and whimsical, that my mind was blown and was like, wow, here is actual evidence of another way to be successful and to do sales. And so ever since then, I started my own business and I've developed my own way of doing business. And I've gotten feedback, unsolicited, quite frankly, over the years of, gosh, Julie, the way you do business, the way you sell is so powerful and graceful at the same time. And my clients get that feedback too. So that's the feminine way to sell. Let's talk about what the feminine way to sell is, because if I can do it, if my clients can do it, you can do it too. Here's what it feels like. It feels like attracting, allowing, receiving. It's spiritual, it's prayerful, it's magnetizing, it's being focused. It's about creating understanding, win-win. It's focused on emotional intelligence. It's about being empathetic, compassionate, patient, and it's completely powerful, but in a win-win kind of way. Now, again, let me just emphasize, it fully is all about being. Now, I know when I say that, some very kind of analytical types are like, what the heck are you talking about? And I'm going to explain that today. So I'll elaborate on that in a minute. But let me just also add that another element of feminine selling in this context is it's about believing, deeply believing, and knowing. You're creating from a place of knowing. And like for me, it tracks back to faith and it tracks back to God and believing God supports me. It takes me to Romans 8:28, which is God uses all things together. He works all things together for those who love him and are called to his purposes. And what does that mean? Well, it means that it doesn't all fall on you. It doesn't all fall on my shoulders of like, I have to be responsible for orchestrating everything. It means I can actually be like, who's coming calling today? I can be like, and I'll tell you a story, but it's like, I can take a nap and I'll get a client. And it's like, let me just explain because I don't want you to like get confused about like, oh, this means I don't have to work and I'll make millions of dollars. That's not what I mean. So let me explain. Okay. And also let me also caveat that this way of being and this sort of like receptivity and femininity and leaning back and magnetizing and receiving, it so did not come naturally to me. It came because I went through a sales period of 5 months and got extremely sick. I made a lot of money, but I got extremely sick. And I was like, I must find another way. I must find another way. And in that, like opportunity, obstacle or opportunity. Well, it was like an opportunity and I reinvented and I was like, there really has to be another way. So I do want to caveat that yes, I still catch myself sometimes going back into the masculine way because it truly is so ingrained in me and in you. And that's not just because of cultural influence, but like for me, it's because of like my own upbringing and what I made up about the world. Okay. So like when I was younger, I was very independent because my sister went through a period of time where she was very sick. My mom was in the hospital. My dad was always at work. I raised myself and I felt like it all, like the whole world fell on me. I had to feed myself. And I was like young, right? Like I was like between the ages of like 10, 13, 14, 15, even into like, it became a habit, quite frankly, into my 15, 16, 17, 18. I was extremely independent. I fully took care of myself, my own emotional needs. I developed a belief that I can't really depend on others, that I don't need to depend on others, like not even God. Okay. And I'll tell you what, even last month, I fell back into this old habit of I don't need anyone else. I don't need to depend on anyone else, not even God. It all falls on me, because habits, they can be so ingrained in you that if you're not careful, if you're not highly intentional, and it happens to the best of us, you fall back into those old habits. So even last month, I'm telling you honestly, I fell back and I stopped being as much in the believing. And I found myself, because for me, when I fall back into the masculine way, I get sick. That's just my thing. That's what happens. So I actually fell into this. I fell back into the masculine way. It's all on me. I have to do, strive. And I had a migraine for 10 freaking days in a row. That's like one of my weak spots. Okay. And so I got better and then I worked even harder to make up for lost time. And I sacrificed the things I love to do. I sacrificed myself. I sacrificed my self-care, like my workouts and my chiropractor and my massages and things like this. Thank God for having a coach who catches you, sees you, sometimes knows you better than you know yourself. And she caught it. And she was like, hold on, you're not believing, you're not in your feminine. Hello, you teach feminine selling. What's going on? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Whew, you are so right. So I made a new decision and I made a new belief. And my new belief, and this is such a feminine selling type of belief, my new belief that I decided on was self-care equals sales. Self-care equals sales. It's a very feminine selling type of belief. Okay. So what happened? I reprioritized my self-care. Meaning instead of like waking up and being like, I have to reach out to the people, I have to write the emails, I have to do. I chose instead to take time to meditate and pray and journal and like do my practices, like I teach you in this podcast, to shift your self-talk, and I'll tell you what happened. In the subsequent 2 weeks, I generated $140,000 in sales while working about 1/3 as much. 140,000 working 1/3 of the time. Hello. I'll give you an example of one specific thing that happened. I was laying down to take a nap, right? Because self-care equals sales. And I was tired, so I was going to take a nap. I was laying down to take a nap. And while I was laying down to take my luxurious nap, I received a message from somebody who wanted to join my mastermind. And within 24 hours, she was in and paid in full, no less. Okay. And another example, this is so funny. I forgot to schedule and send out a reminder email to like this particular campaign, this automation I was doing. And I was like, once I realized I forgot, I was freaking out a little bit, because like I had it that when I said an email equals sales, emails equal sales, emails equal sales, like that was the belief. Well, remember, I'm shifting the belief, self-care equals sales. So what happened that night, the reason I forgot is because I chose to relax and disconnect. But I remember I made a new decision, self-care equals sales. So relaxation equals self-care equals sales. Guess what happened? I still made sales, and those were for a course, and I had some payment plans, but I had some pay in fulls as well. And that was like a new thing, because remember, before I had it that I had to send an email before I could get the sales. It was like a new reality. I created a new evidence to support the new belief. Isn't that cool? Okay. So that's how feminine selling works. And let me just break down for you like exactly what happened so you can start to see how this applies in your life. What happened in that little stint of time where I slipped and went back to masculine selling mode is this. I forgot about the be in be, do, have. Have you heard of be, do, have? If you've done any kind of personal development work, you've probably heard of be, do, have. If you haven't heard of be, do, have, let me just quickly explain. The idea is that when you choose to be a certain way, you will take certain actions out of that beingness. And then out of that, you now can have the thing that you want. Now, the way most society has it, the way masculine selling has it, is that they take out the be. So it's not about be. Be doesn't matter. It's just do. And you do, and then you have. And what that means is like your beliefs don't matter. Your energy doesn't matter. Your like thought process doesn't matter. Like that stuff has no impact or regard on your result. That's how masculine selling works. And that's what I slipped back into. So I had to bring the be back into it. The be is the things you are telling yourself, your self-talk. Remember, so it became for me, self-care equals sales. That's part of the be. It's the things you tell yourself. It's the times you catch yourself when you slip into fear or anxiety, or like my thing of like, it all falls on me. It's you catch yourself and whoop, you slip back into no, who's coming for me today? What business is coming today? And just being in like the knowing and the faith and conviction. And remember, it doesn't mean you don't do the things. Yes, you send the emails, you make the calls, you send the texts, but it's like, what's the energy from which you're sending it? Are you sending it from an energy of, oh my gosh, I have to do this, or I'm effed and the world will fall apart? Or is it the energy of, oh, this is so awesome that this is my life and I love what I do, and I'm so happy to connect with this person, and I'm so like, I would love to work with this person, and I would love to be a blessing to this person. Like, what a different energy. And one of the things you'll hear me say over and over is energy is everything. Energy is everything. So think about it. Like if you receive a text and you feel like, can you not feel if the text comes from an energy of the person being like, if she doesn't sign up with me, I'm not going to be okay. versus an energy of they're good either way. God will provide either way. And if we're a good fit, we're a good fit. Cool. Let's move forward. And if not, that's okay too. It's like you can actually feel it. People can feel it whether they're conscious of it or not. Okay. So that the energy behind the action is different, but yes, you still take action. So I think one of the most amazing things about this shift is that there's just so much more forgiveness and allowance for you to not have to be perfect. I think so many people have this like perfectionism thing that holds them back. But if you're just in knowing and you're in conviction and you're like, God's got me and everything is going to be okay. And he's the God who keeps his promises to me. And all I have to do is show up and be my best self and like have the highest level of integrity and do my very best, not be perfect, but do my best. Then like all you have to do is work on your beliefs, because what you believe, you prove. Your beliefs dictate everything. And when you know that to be true, and when you know that your beliefs are what you're proving and that dictates everything, and that will literally actually trump all physical reality. And that's one of the reasons why, if you look at my track record of sales, none of it actually makes any sense. Like my conversion rates are supernatural. And I've gone on to teach this to my clients, and their conversion rates don't make sense. Like a lot of my mastermind clients, even if they're just starting, track record of $6,000 to $10,000 a month in their first month, cash on a fresh new business. How many coaches can say that about their clients? Like consistently. And the reason for that, yes, my methods are good. My script is good, all of that, of course. And none of that would even matter if my clients didn't work on their mindset and if they didn't work on what they're believing. And so like, that's actually a huge part of what I work on with my people. I work on helping them be accountable, and really I call it like ninja with your mindset and shifting, because the underlying universal theme here is what you believe, you prove. Can you see how this is different from masculine selling, where none of that stuff matters? I had an event years ago, and quite frankly, it was very embarrassing. Oh my gosh, I didn't know what I was doing. We didn't have a registration table. We didn't have name tags. Honestly, it was so embarrassing. It was a, show. It was embarrassing. Yet at that event, long story short, I still made over $200,000 in sales that weekend. And it was only like a 60-person event. How is that possible? Because I was in the believing, I was in the knowing, I was in the feminine selling of those principles. And the doing and the logistics and the physical reality actually did not matter, because energy is everything. And the people in that room felt my energy, and that trumped the mess of the logistics of the physical reality. And obviously I wasn't going to go on to keep having messy disaster events. Like I learned from it and I fixed it, and we created much more beautiful, like high quality events moving forward. But my point is, let that story inspire you that you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be perfect when you sell the feminine way, because as long as your energy is aligned and as long as you're managing your mindset, which you can do no matter what kind of resources you have or don't have, it just requires you to be disciplined and ninja with your mindset, and to choose a different belief, and to choose to be in the conviction, and to choose to be in the knowing, and to faith is believing even when there's no evidence. This is the feminine way to sell. And what happens is, when you sell the feminine way, you can sell more with less. Okay, so here's my question for you. This is your big takeaway. What is your version of my self-care equals sales? Right? So I've got self-care equals sales. What's your version of that? Maybe it's like date night equals sales. Or maybe for you, it's like cooking, nourishing food equals sales. Or maybe like dog walk equals sales. What is your version of that? Okay. So if you want to have fun with this, do it with a friend. Send them this episode so they understand the context, and then figure out what it is together. And you can send each other a little text and send a picture, you're on your walk, dog walk equals sales, and then celebrate when the sale comes in. How fun is that? Okay. So I really hope this made a difference for you. Hopefully this shifts everything. If it did, I would be so grateful if you subscribed, and even better, if you're willing to leave a review. It just really, truly makes such a difference. And I so appreciate you for it. If you want to see me like behind the scenes and like all the pictures and the videos and the stories and things, you can follow me on Instagram. It's just Julie Serot, or Facebook, Julie Serot, for all the things, all the fun things. And other than that, I will see you in the next episode of Feminine Fortune.